Critics are divided.
Are we seeing warnings that humanity will not be able to ignore? A blazing ring erupts inside storm clouds. A silent humanoid shape moves across the dawn. A radiant figure kneels inside a church, glowing with an unearthly stillness. Across distant horizons, luminous orbs hover above ancient pyramids, while a geometric object hangs motionless over a crowded city, defying everything we understand. Then, the ground itself responds. A fiery crater burns without end, and a glowing opening in a remote forest radiates heat like a hidden gateway beneath the earth. These moments appear far apart, yet they feel increasingly connected. The pace intensifies, the images grow stranger, and the pattern becomes harder to dismiss. One sign unsettles, but 10 signs form something larger, something that feels deliberate and rising. Many people have started to notice the same shift, a sense that the world is holding its breath. The sky looks different, the silence feels heavier, and each new sighting seems to arrive closer to the last. Stay with us, because the first sign may already have appeared. 1. Blue light stops an entire street in seconds. On the 16th of February, 2026, residents across Florida looked up and stopped moving. A brilliant blue orb appeared without warning, flooding quiet streets with cold light. Windows glowed, rooftops shimmered, and entire neighborhoods fell into silence. The object darted sharply from side to side, changing direction with precision that felt deliberate rather than random. It flashed again and again, released faint smoke, then shot straight upward and vanished into darkness. People froze, nobody spoke, and phones rose slowly into the air. One sudden light shattered the calm and left a feeling that something beyond ordinary experience had briefly revealed itself. Witnesses later described the glow stretching across multiple blocks, bright enough to illuminate trees and parked cars. Videos surfaced within minutes, showing the erratic motion followed by the sudden vertical escape. The recordings matched in timing and direction, confirming that many observers saw the same phenomenon. No engine noise echoed through the streets, no wings appeared, and no familiar aircraft behavior could be identified. Social feeds filled with replayed clips, each frame examined for meaning. Curiosity mixed with unease, and the silence that followed felt heavier than the light itself. Exodus 13:21 presents a guiding light in darkness. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud, to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire, to give them light, to go by day and night. The passage describes divine illumination appearing when direction was needed. For many believers, a sudden glow breaking the night can echo that ancient image. The orb hovering over Florida stirred that association, turning a brief event into something spiritually charged. Some suggested reflections, experimental craft, or atmospheric effects, yet none explained the abrupt movement and vertical disappearance. The light seemed purposeful, not drifting or fading naturally. Luke 21:25 offers another perspective. And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity. The verse speaks of confusion created by signs above humanity. The glowing orb produced exactly that response, perplexity replacing certainty. The light vanished, but the impression remained. Streets returned to darkness, yet minds stayed restless. One sign appeared and disappeared, leaving silence behind. But the night would not remain quiet for long, because another shape would soon emerge, forming a pattern that grows harder to ignore. 2. 3 orbs hover over ancient stones. A quiet drive near the Great Pyramid of Giza suddenly turned into something unforgettable. 3 glowing white orbs appeared above the ancient structure, hovering in the still desert air. The lights were bright and steady, suspended over stones that have endured for thousands of years. 2 of the orbs moved together in perfect harmony, shifting slowly while maintaining equal distance. The third light lingered nearby, completing a formation that felt intentional. It remained perfectly still for a moment, as though the sky itself had paused. The driver recorded only a few seconds, yet those seconds carried a weight far beyond the sand and silence surrounding the pyramid. When viewers examined the footage, the symmetry immediately stood out. The lights did not flicker randomly, and they showed no sign of drifting with the wind. Their motion appeared coordinated, deliberate, and calm. No visible propulsion, no sound, and no familiar aircraft pattern could be identified. The camera angle left unanswered questions about their origin. The recording ended abruptly, while the lights remained steady. The unresolved ending intensified the mystery. This moment felt like a brief interruption where the ancient world and the present overlapped. Genesis 28:12 presents a vision connecting heaven and earth. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God ascending and descending on it. The passage describes movement between realms, a bridge linking the divine and the human. Many believers see the hovering lights above Giza and recall that image, a sacred structure below, luminous signs above, and a silent suggestion that heaven still reaches toward the earth. The orbs seem to rest over the pyramid like watchful messengers, illuminating a place long associated with humanity's search for meaning. Some observers suggested distant aircraft or optical effects, yet the formation did not resemble known flight patterns. The steady glow lacked navigation lights, and the controlled spacing suggested intention. Instead of fading, the mystery deepened. Viewers noticed how closely the lights aligned with the pyramid's peak, creating a scene that felt symbolic. The absence of sound amplified the tension, leaving only the image of three luminous shapes suspended above the monument. Daniel 12:3 offers another image of shining signs. And they that be wise shall shine as the brightness of the firmament, and they that turn many to righteousness as the stars forever and ever. The verse speaks of lights carrying meaning. The orbs above Giza resembled stars drawn closer to earth, placed with purpose rather than chance. For believers, such moments become reminders that divine authority spans across time. The desert night felt charged with significance. The lights eventually faded, but the impression remained. One unexplained orb had already appeared over Florida. Now multiple lights gathered above one of the world's oldest landmarks. The pattern seemed to be strengthening, and the next sign would move from ancient silence towards something even more unsettling. 3. Geometric star freezes above the city. On the 5th of February, 2026, the sky above shifted from ordinary to unsettling in seconds. A strange geometric object appeared in broad daylight, hovering silently over the city. Its outline looked sharp and star-like, with pointed edges that did not resemble any aircraft known to the public. The object remained perfectly still above buildings, while people gathered below, staring upward in confusion. Phones lifted, voices echoed across the streets, and traffic slowed. There was no rotation, no exhaust, and no sound. The stillness felt unnatural, turning a routine afternoon into a tense moment filled with quiet unease. Witnesses reported that the object stayed visible for nearly 20 minutes. Multiple recordings emerged from different neighborhoods, all showing the same motionless form. The angles of the structure seemed impossible for stable flight, yet it did not drift or sway. It hung above the city like a suspended symbol rather than a vehicle. Some viewers counted the pointed edges, describing it as a star frozen in midair. The longer it remained, the heavier the silence became. People watched without speaking, waiting for movement that never came. Then, without warning, the object accelerated rapidly and vanished, leaving the sky empty and the crowd unsettled. Ezekiel 1:16 describes a mysterious vision in the heavens. The appearance of the wheels and their work was like unto the color of a beryl, and they four had one likeness, and their appearance and their work was as it were a wheel in the middle of a wheel. This passage speaks of forms that defy ordinary understanding. Many believers read these words and imagined structures beyond human design. The geometric shape above Medellin seemed to echo that imagery. a precise form suspended between heaven and earth, silent yet deliberate. The sky once again appeared to reveal something purposeful rather than random. Some suggested advanced technology, yet no known craft could remain that stable without visible propulsion. The symmetry remained flawless, and the silence deepened the mystery. Viewers replayed the footage, searching for clues, but each frame only intensified the questions. The object did not behave like an experiment or a passing aircraft. It appeared, held its position, then disappeared with sudden speed. The moment felt intentional, as though the sky had briefly displayed a sign before closing again. Matthew 24:24 offers a warning about extraordinary signs. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall shew great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. The verse carries a tone of vigilance. Signs in the sky may not only inspire wonder, but also demand discernment. The structured shape above Medellin felt less like curiosity and more like a reminder to remain watchful. First, a glowing orb appeared. Then lights hovered above ancient stones. Now, a defined shape suspended itself over a modern city. The pattern was expanding, moving from light to formation to deliberate design. The sky was no longer quiet, and the next sign would push the sequence even further. 4. Perfect ring descends through a violent storm at 9:45 p.m. On the 6th of February, 2025, thunder rolled across the city and lightning tore through heavy clouds. Then, something unexpected formed in the middle of the storm. A brilliant ring of light appeared high above the city, perfectly circular and sharply defined. Its white glow cut through rain and darkness, drawing eyes upward from crowded streets. Within seconds, the ring began descending. It moved faster than the drifting clouds, silent despite the roaring thunder. People stopped where they stood. Phones rose in silence. Some pointed, others simply stared, while the luminous circle continued its steady downward motion. Witnesses described the ring growing larger as it dropped, creating the impression of an opening suspended in the sky. A dark trail followed behind it, thick against the illuminated clouds. The movement felt controlled rather than chaotic, almost deliberate. Videos from different streets captured the same descent, confirming the circular form and rapid approach. The glow intensified, reflecting off wet rooftops and shining across rain-soaked roads. Then, without warning, the ring vanished. No explosion followed, no debris fell, and the storm resumed its natural rhythm. The sudden disappearance left an unsettling silence. The moment felt incomplete, like a doorway that opened briefly and closed before anyone understood what lay beyond. Revelation 6:14 describes a dramatic shift in the heavens. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of their places. The verse portrays the sky changing in ways beyond human control. The descending ring over the city resembled a fold in the heavens, a circular boundary separating what is seen from what remains hidden. Many believers viewed the glowing shape as more than weather. The storm clouds became a backdrop where something purposeful seemed to unfold. The ring's movement downward felt like a sign drawing attention from above to below. Some suggested rare atmospheric effects, yet the defined circle and controlled descent did not settle the unease. Others mentioned advanced technology, though the silence and sudden disappearance left those ideas incomplete. The ring did not flicker or distort. It remained stable while it moved, reinforcing the sense of intention. People replayed the footage repeatedly, focusing on the dark trail and the precise edges. The storm felt ordinary before the ring appeared. Then everything shifted in seconds. Doubt did not calm the tension. Instead, the mystery deepened. Joel 2:30-31 offers a warning tied to signs in the heavens. And I will shew wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and the terrible day of the Lord come. The glowing ring and its trailing smoke echoed that imagery. For many viewers, the descending circle felt like a signal that the sequence of signs was intensifying. The ring vanished, but the impression lingered. Lights had hovered, shapes had appeared, and now the heavens seemed to open. The pattern was growing stronger, and the next sign would push the tension even further. 5. Smoky circle opens and vanishes without sound. Another circular sign appeared, reinforcing the pattern already forming in the sky. A massive smoky ring materialized above observers, glowing with a strange energy that drew immediate attention. Its edges flickered sharply, like currents of light running along a living boundary. The circle remained suspended, perfectly formed, radiating an unnatural brightness. People looked up without speaking. Phones lifted slowly. The air felt tense, heavier than before. The ring pulsed once, then again, holding its shape while the center remained empty. The stillness made the moment feel deliberate, as though something had opened and paused above them. Recordings quickly surfaced from different viewpoints, all showing the same circular structure. The smoky outline appeared thick, almost tangible, hovering without drifting. The flickering edges suggested motion within the ring, yet nothing emerged from its center. Witnesses described the scene as an opening that briefly revealed itself. Then, without warning, the ring vanished. No sound followed, no residue remained, and the sky returned to normal. The sudden disappearance left a quiet unease. Viewers replayed the footage repeatedly, noticing how closely it resembled earlier ring sightings. The similarity created the impression that the sky was repeating a message rather than producing isolated events. Ecclesiastes 1-9 reflects on repetition. The thing that hath been it is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done, and there is no new thing under the sun. The verse suggests that recurring patterns carry meaning. The appearance of another glowing ring felt like a deliberate repetition. Many believers saw these circles as reminders appearing across time. The heavens seemed to echo themselves, forming a chain of signs. Each repetition strengthened the sense that attention was being drawn upward for a reason. The circular symmetry remained precise, and the flickering edges did not resemble drifting vapor. The ring held its form until the final moment, reinforcing the sense of control. Observers compared the footage with earlier events and noticed the same sequence. A ring appears, holds its shape, then vanishes abruptly. This consistency felt intentional. Curiosity slowly shifted into concern. Repetition often signals urgency, and the repeated openings intensified the atmosphere of warning. Luke 21:11 describes unsettling signs. And great earthquakes shall be in divers places, and famines, and pestilences, and fearful sights, and great signs shall there be from heaven. The phrase, fearful sights, resonated with those who watched the glowing circle flicker above them. The repeated rings seemed to align with the idea of signs appearing from heaven. The sky no longer felt quiet. It seemed to communicate through recurring symbols. One ring descended through a storm, another appeared, pulsing with energy. Both vanished before answers could form. The sequence was becoming clearer, and the next phenomenon would push the tension further, transforming silent signals into something even more intense. 6. Burning ring tears through the clouds. Over Thailand, a massive fiery ring suddenly appeared inside thick clouds. Shocking everyone who looked up, the circle burned with intense orange light, expanding wider while suspended in the sky. Its edges glowed like molten metal, and the surrounding clouds lit up under the radiance. Streets fell quiet as people pointed upward. Some stepped back instinctively, while others raised their phones with trembling hands. The air felt heavy, charged with tension. The ring grew brighter, pressing outward, as though something behind the clouds was forcing its way forward. The horizon glowed, and the moment carried a sense of urgency that spread through the crowd. The fiery circle expanded further, maintaining a perfect shape within the cloud layer. The brightness intensified rapidly, then a sudden burst of light spread outward, illuminating the sky in a dramatic flash. Witnesses described the moment as a rupture, like the heavens briefly opening. The ring held for only seconds, yet those seconds felt overwhelming. Then it vanished. No thunder followed, no debris fell, and the clouds slowly returned to normal. The abrupt silence deepened the unease. The impression remained that something had pushed through and withdrawn just as quickly. Recordings circulated widely, and each replay heightened the sense of fear rather than reducing it. Isaiah 66:15 presents an image of divine fire. For behold, the Lord will come with fire, and with his chariots like a whirlwind, to render his anger with fury, and his rebuke with flames of fire. The verse associates fire with authority and judgment. The blazing ring above Thailand resembled a circle of flame, marking a decisive warning. Many believers saw the expanding fire as a sign that the heavens were no longer passive. The sky seemed to respond with intensity, not silence. The glowing circle felt less like a spectacle and more like a declaration. The uniform shape and rapid expansion reinforced the sense of intention. Observers compared it to earlier rings, noting how this one carried heat and brightness. The progression felt unmistakable. Lights had appeared, smoky circles followed, and now fire burned within the clouds. The escalation created a deeper tension. Curiosity shifted into concern. People replayed the footage, focusing on the moment the light burst outward. The sky appeared to speak with greater urgency, and the atmosphere felt heavier than before. Malachi 4:1 offers a warning tied to burning fire. For behold, the day cometh that shall burn as an oven, and all the proud, yea, and all that do wickedly shall be stubble. And the day that cometh shall burn them up, saith the Lord of hosts, that it shall leave them neither root, branch. The fiery ring echoed this imagery of consuming flame. For many viewers, the expanding circle carried a tone of accountability. The heavens seemed to deliver a message stronger than before. Lights had hovered, rings had appeared, and now fire tore across the sky. The escalation felt unmistakable. And the next sign would no longer be only light or flame, but something that begins to take form before human eyes. 7. Human silhouette walks across the dawn. At sunrise, over Miami, a dark shape appeared high within the clouds, drawing immediate attention from those watching the horizon. The silhouette looked unmistakably human, upright, and defined against the pale morning light. A flowing extension trailed behind it, resembling a robe moving gently across the sky. The figure advanced slowly, not drifting like a cloud, but moving with deliberate calm. People fell silent as they watched. Some lowered their voices, others simply stared. The stillness felt different from earlier moments of fear. This time the atmosphere carried reverence, as though the sky itself invited quiet reflection. The figure continued forward, then gradually faded into the brightening dawn. The recording spread quickly, capturing the humanoid outline framed by soft clouds. Viewers noticed the balanced posture and measured pace. The shape did not distort or fragment. It appeared composed, structured, and intentional. The trailing form shifted gently, reinforcing the impression of a living presence. Witnesses counted the seconds of visibility, noting how long the figure remained before dissolving. The calm movement contrasted sharply with the fiery rings and sudden bursts seen earlier. Instead of urgency, this moment carried weight and stillness. The sky no longer displayed only light or flame. It revealed something that resembled humanity itself, walking quietly above the earth. Daniel 7:13 describes a vision of a figure within the clouds. I saw in the night visions, and behold, one like the Son of Man came with the clouds of heaven, and came to the Ancient of Days, and they brought him near before him. The passage presents a human-like form moving among the day clouds. Many believers saw a strong similarity between that description and the silhouette recorded over Miami. The dawn light seemed to heighten the sense of holiness. The figure did not rush or descend. It simply moved, calm and purposeful, leaving the impression of presence rather than warning. Some questioned whether the shape formed naturally, yet the defined outline and steady motion left uncertainty. The symmetry did not resemble drifting vapor. Viewers replayed the footage repeatedly, searching for clarity. Each viewing strengthened the impression of intention. The peaceful movement shifted the mood from alarm to contemplation. Earlier signs stirred fear. This one stirred faith. The quietness of the moment lingered long after the figure disappeared, as though the sky had briefly revealed something personal. Acts 1:9-11 speaks of a return connected to the clouds. And when he had spoken these things, while they beheld, he was taken up, and a cloud received him out of their sight. This same Jesus, which is taken up from you into heaven, shall so come in like manner as ye have seen him go into heaven. The silhouette over Miami reminded many of this promise. The gentle motion and sudden fading felt deeply symbolic. Lights had appeared, rings had opened, fire had burned, and now a human-like form walked across the sky. The progression shifted from warning to presence, drawing the message closer to humanity. 8. Radiant figure kneels inside a silent church. On the 29th of July, 2025, inside a quiet Catholic church, a visitor noticed something that immediately broke the stillness. A brilliant white figure knelt before the altar, radiating soft light that filled the sanctuary. Candles flickered nearby, yet the glow from the figure remained constant and pure. No facial features appeared, but the posture conveyed devotion. The air felt calm, almost weightless. The visitor raised his phone with trembling hands, while the luminous presence slowly straightened. It turned gently toward him, not advancing, only acknowledging. The moment felt overwhelming, filled with solemn peace rather than fear. The church remained silent, and the light stood motionless within the sacred space. The recording showed the figure maintaining its glow, neither flickering nor fading. The brightness did not distort the surroundings. Instead, it seemed to blend with the sanctuary, enhancing the reverent atmosphere. The visitor stepped back quietly, sensing holiness rather than alarm. Seconds passed, then minutes, while the figure remained calm. It did not pursue or vanish abruptly. The stillness deepened the emotional impact, leaving the impression that a messenger had appeared in a place devoted to prayer. Unlike earlier dramatic signs in the sky, this moment felt intimate. The presence seemed closer, quieter, and more personal. Luke 2-9 offers a description of divine light accompanying heavenly presence. And lo, the angel of the Lord came upon them, and the glory of the Lord shone round about them, and they were sore afraid. The verse speaks of radiant glory surrounding an angel. Many believers saw the glowing figure and recalled this imagery. The church became more than a building. It felt like a meeting point between heaven and earth. The kneeling posture reinforced humility and worship. Light appearing beside an altar resonated with centuries of faith and devotion, strengthening the sense that this moment carried spiritual meaning. Some questioned reflection or imagination, yet the consistent luminous form left uncertainty. The figure appeared already kneeling, as though engaged in prayer before being noticed. This detail heightened the reverence of the scene. The calm behavior contrasted sharply with earlier fiery and explosive signs. The progression seemed to move from warning to invitation. The heavens appeared to draw nearer, encouraging reflection. Viewers replayed the footage, focusing on the gentle movement and enduring glow. Each viewing emphasized peace rather than tension. Hebrews 1:14 describes the role of angels. Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for them who shall be heirs of salvation? The verse portrays angels as messengers sent with purpose. The glowing figure inside the church appeared to embody that role. The light beside the altar suggested guidance and reassurance. Faith deepened for many who watched, sensing that heaven had stepped quietly into a sacred place. A figure walked among clouds, and now a radiant presence knelt within a house of prayer. The progression moved from sky to sanctuary, drawing the signs closer to humanity. The next manifestation would shift again, emerging not from above, but from the earth itself. 9. Glowing pit opens deep in a haunted forest. Deep inside the Hoya Bachu forest, a hiker encountered something that shattered the calm of the landscape. The forest held a secret, pulsing beneath the earth, as if unseen eyes were watching every step. Shadows stretched unnaturally, and the air trembled with a presence felt but unseen. A circular opening glowed from the ground, radiating a deep orange light that pulsed steadily from below. Heat rose in visible waves, strong enough to be felt several steps away. The surrounding trees stood motionless, their shadows stretched by the glow. The air felt heavy and unusually warm, as though the forest itself was breathing from beneath. The light did not flicker randomly. It burned with controlled intensity, constant and deliberate. Drawn closer despite the danger, the hiker began recording, capturing the moment as the earth seemed to open. The footage revealed a cavity that appeared deeper than natural erosion. The orange light illuminated the edges, but the center remained dark, giving the impression of depth without a visible bottom. Heat distorted the air above the opening, bending the view like a mirage. Dry leaves near the rim shifted slightly, stirred by rising currents. The glow intensified briefly, then returned to a steady burn, as if something below pulsed with slow rhythm. The forest remained silent. No animals moved, no wind stirred the branches. The contrast between still trees and active heat created an unsettling calm. The focus shifted away from the heavens. Now the ground itself seemed alive, revealing a hidden source beneath humanity's feet. Revelation 9:1-2 describes a chilling image. And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. The glowing cavity in the forest echoed this imagery. The rising heat resembled a furnace breathing upward. The opening appeared contained, yet powerful, as though something below pressed against the surface. The earth no longer felt solid and silent. It seemed to reveal depth and tension hidden beneath. The hiker kept his distance, the camera shaking slightly as heat shimmered across the frame. The glow remained steady, neither expanding nor fading. The silence intensified the unease. Peaceful trees surrounded a fiery center, creating a haunting contrast. Earlier signs had appeared in the sky and within sacred spaces. This one emerged from below, shifting the tone from awe to deep unease. Luke 8:31 provides another reference to the abyss. And they besought him that he would not command them to go out into the deep. The word deep has long been associated with hidden darkness. The glowing opening suggested a boundary between surface and unknown depth. Heat rising from below strengthened that impression. The forest felt less like wilderness and more like a threshold. No sound broke the silence, yet the hiker could feel the earth itself watching, as if something ancient had stirred awake. The glow hinted at a presence pressing just beneath the ground. Earlier signs had appeared above and within sacred spaces, but here, the forest became a liminal space, a doorway to something vast and hidden, waiting to be revealed. 10. Eternal crater burns like a gateway to hell. In a remote desert, a massive burning crater glowed against the darkness, its flames rising continuously from deep within the earth. Locals called it the gateway to hell, a name whispered for generations. The fire stretched across the hollow, roaring with heat and light that never seemed to weaken. At night, the surrounding sands reflected the orange glow, turning the barren landscape into a dim, flickering horizon. The flames did not surge and fade like ordinary fire. They burned steadily, unwavering, as though fed by something hidden below. The silence of the desert amplified the sound of the blaze, creating the sense that the earth itself was breathing fire. Visitors who approached the edge felt waves of heat pushing upward like air from a furnace. The flames moved in layered currents, rising and folding back into the pit. The depth remained unclear, the bottom concealed by constant combustion. Wind passed over the crater, yet the fire held its shape. Sand shifted around the rim, but the blaze endured unchanged. The persistence created a sense of permanence. The ground appeared torn open, yet the wound never closed. Standing nearby, many felt both awe and unease. The sight suggested not a brief event, but something lasting, a fire that refused to end. Revelation 20:10 describes unending flame. And the devil that deceived them was cast into the lake of fire and brimstone, and shall be tormented day and night forever and ever. The imagery of continuous fire resonated strongly with the desert crater. The flames burned without interruption, echoing the idea of eternal consequence. The glow at night seemed almost symbolic, a reminder visible even in darkness. The longer observers watched, the more the blaze felt deliberate, steady, and final. The desert, empty and quiet, allowed the fire to dominate the horizon without distraction. The isolation deepened the emotional impact. No city lights competed with the glow. No noise interrupted the crackling heat. The crater stood alone, its flames carving a permanent image into the land. The earth seemed to display a warning etched in fire. The continuity of the blaze contrasted with earlier fleeting signs. Rings appeared and vanished. Figures crossed the sky briefly. Openings in the ground glowed, and faded, but this fire remained. It endured day after day, night after night, reinforcing the sense of finality. Matthew 25-41 delivers a solemn declaration. "Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels." Unquote. The enduring blaze mirrored this imagery. The flames rose steadily, emphasizing permanence and consequence. Many who saw the crater felt the weight of that symbolism. The gateway to hell seemed less like a legend and more like a visual reminder carved into the earth itself. From glowing rings above, to figures in clouds, to a presence in a sanctuary, to openings beneath a forest, the sequence culminated in a crater of relentless fire. The progression moved from sky to earth and finally to a lasting blaze. The final image did not vanish. It remained, burning in silence, powerful and absolute. 10 signs appeared across sky, sanctuary, and earth, and together they form a warning too clear to ignore. Rings ignited in the clouds. Fire tore through the heavens. A figure crossed the dawn. A radiant presence knelt in silence. The ground opened, and a crater burned without end. Each moment alone unsettles, but together they create a pattern that feels deliberate. Scripture speaks of signs, of watchfulness, of a world called to awaken. These events echo those themes, pointing beyond coincidence toward a message urging reflection and repentance. This is not only about what was seen, it is about what is felt. The signs invite humility, prayer, and renewed faith. In uncertain times, believers are called to remain vigilant, to seek God sincerely, and to trust in His mercy. When the world grows louder, faith becomes the anchor. When fear rises, prayer becomes the answer. These moments remind us that heaven and earth still speak, and that hearts can still respond. If these signs stirred something within you, share a prayer in the comments. Your words may strengthen someone searching for hope. Like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. The message may be unfolding now, and the next sign could appear sooner than we expect. May God bless you and your family with peace, protection, and guidance. Amen. Could the chaos unfolding across our world be warning us that time is slipping away faster than we imagined? A massive tornado roars across open land, tearing through everything in its path. The sky suddenly turns blood red, covering an entire city in an eerie glow. The ground trembles as a powerful earthquake strikes near coastal waters, sending fear far beyond the epicenter. In another place, a road cracks and sinks beside homes, turning solid ground into uncertainty. These moments appear distant from one another, yet they share the same unsettling intensity. The scenes emerge one after another, louder, closer, harder to ignore. Storms strengthen, the earth shifts, structures fail, and confidence begins to erode. Each event alone might seem explainable, yet together they form a pattern that feels increasingly deliberate. The pace accelerates, leaving little time for reflection before the next sign appears. Many are beginning to ask whether these are coincidences or signals urging us to pay attention. The repetition creates tension, drawing attention to something larger than any single event. Once we begin examining them, one by one, the meaning behind them may challenge everything we thought we understood. 1. Flames ignite the frosted vineyards. A pale dawn rises over endless rows of vines. Yet the landscape is pierced by thousands of small flames burning across frozen ground. The air feels unnaturally still, and the glow stretches into the distance like a field of watchful eyes. Smoke drifts low between the vines, softening the horizon while the cold grips the earth. The vineyard no longer resembles farmland. It resembles a silent vigil. The light flickers gently, but the atmosphere carries tension, a sense that the land itself is waiting. The flames do not roar, yet their quiet persistence feels louder than any storm. In that moment, the scene looks less like protection and more like a message written on fire. On the 2nd of April, 2026, wine growers in Chablis, in the Yonne region of France, lit thousands of candles to shield young grape buds from temperatures dropping to -3 degrees Celsius. Rows of burning containers were placed between frost-covered vines, releasing heat and thin smoke across wide fields. The method is familiar in cool climate vineyards, yet the scale transforms practicality into something symbolic. From above, the lights form long, glowing lines, like lamps placed deliberately across the night. The frozen soil reflects the flames, doubling the brightness and deepening the contrast with the cold darkness. The image feels organized, intentional, almost ceremonial. What began as an agricultural response appears to evolve into a visual of collective watchfulness. Matthew 25:1-13 speaks about lamps prepared in darkness. The lamps burning through the night reflect vigilance and readiness. The vineyard filled with lights echoes that ancient call. Lamps burning through cold night air reflect vigilance, readiness, and anticipation. The stillness strengthens the connection, turning a rural field into something that feels spiritually charged. Some describe the candles purely as a technique to raise temperature slightly above freezing. Yet, the explanation does not dissolve the emotional weight created by thousands of flames burning together. The glow pushes back darkness, forming a fragile barrier against cold. The effort appears humble, but the symbolism grows powerful. Light stands against threat, patience replaces panic, and the land becomes a stage of quiet endurance. The repetition of flame after flame builds tension, inviting reflection about whether the lights represent more than protection for crops. They resemble a call to remain awake. Romans 13:11-12 offers another awakening. And do this, knowing the time that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now our salvation is nearer than when we first believed. The night is far spent, the day is at hand. Therefore let us cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. The candles across frost mirror that message, light confronting cold, vigilance rising before dawn. The flames gradually fade with morning, yet the impression remains. Somewhere else, another gathering of lights begins to glow, not scattered across fields, but held in human hands beneath a darkened sky. 2. Living sea of fire encircles the church. Darkness covers the landscape, but this time, the lights are not protecting crops. They gather around a towering church crowned with crosses, forming a vast circle that glows against the night. From above, the crowd resembles a living ocean of fire, each person holding a flame that trembles in the darkness. The silence feels heavy, almost sacred, while illuminated domes rise above the faithful like watchful sentinels. No urgency disturbs the scene, yet tension lingers in the stillness. The lights remain steady, unified, deliberate. The gathering looks less like an event and more like a response to something deeply felt. The glow does not merely illuminate the ground. It transforms the night into a space of collective devotion. The gathering takes place in Ethiopia, a nation where Christian tradition stretches back to the 4th century. Aerial footage reveals hundreds of thousands surrounding an Ethiopian Orthodox church, each holding a small flame. The Orthodox Tewahedo Church stands at the center, its ancient architecture framed by a luminous ring of believers. The lights extend beyond the church walls, filling surrounding paths and open ground. The scale creates a striking contrast with the quiet of the night. What appears calm from above carries emotional intensity. The unity of movement and stillness suggests shared purpose. The crowd does not surge or disperse. It remains anchored, a mass of glowing points bound together by faith. The image feels larger than a cultural gathering. It appears like a testimony written in light. Matthew 5:14-16 speaks of light revealed before the world. You are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hidden. Nor do they light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a lampstand, and it gives light to all who are in the house. Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven." The crowd, holding flames, mirrors this declaration. Lamps rise openly, unhidden, visible across the darkness. Each small light contributes to a collective brilliance. The message resonates through the stillness. Belief, shining without hesitation. The glow becomes a declaration of faith rather than a quiet ritual. Some observers describe the gathering as heritage preserved across generations, yet the emotional force of such unity deepens the impression. Individual flames appear fragile, but together they become overwhelming. The stillness of the crowd contrasts sharply with a restless world filled with noise and uncertainty. The glow seems intentional, purposeful, almost protective. The people themselves become lights, standing firm against darkness. The escalation from fields of candles to multitudes of believers strengthens the sense of progression. The symbolism grows from protection of crops to declaration of faith. Psalm 27:1 echoes through the luminous assembly. "The Lord is my light and my salvation, whom shall I fear? The Lord is the strength of my life, of whom shall I be afraid?" The flames held high reflect that confidence. Fear recedes, trust rises, and devotion fills the night. The gathering becomes a witness, a reminder that faith can unite vast numbers under one hope. Yet, while these lights glow with calm assurance, another sign begins to form elsewhere, where the sky itself darkens in a way no human flame can answer. 3. The horizon bleeds crimson. Daylight fades into a strange crimson glow, and an entire city stands beneath a sky that no longer feels familiar. Buildings, streets, and distant hills are washed in deep red, creating a heavy and foreboding atmosphere. The air thickens with dust, muting sound and softening outlines while the sun struggles behind a burning haze. People pause, looking upward, searching for meaning in a color that transforms the ordinary into something unsettling. The horizon darkens further, and the crimson spreads slowly across the landscape. The light does not flicker or pass quickly. It lingers, pressing down on the city, turning every surface into a reflection of warning. The moment feels suspended, as though time itself hesitates beneath the altered sky. A Saharan dust storm moved across the Mediterranean, covering parts of Crete in Greece and eastern Libya with dense red-orange skies. Strong winds carried fine sand from North Africa, reducing visibility and prompting health warnings. Flights were diverted, and coastal cities reported dangerous conditions. The dust plumes stretched toward Egypt, crossing vast distances in a short time. Entire regions shifted from clear daylight to crimson haze within hours. The transformation altered not only visibility, but perception. Streets glowed in unfamiliar tones, mountains faded into silhouettes, and sunlight dimmed into a dull red disk. The scale of the event created a shared experience across multiple countries, intensifying the sense that something significant was unfolding. Joel 2:30-31 describes a sign that resonates with scenes like this: blood, fire, and smoke signal the coming day of the Lord. The crimson sky mirrors those words, a horizon tinted like blood, smoke filling the air, light diminished. The imagery carries weight, connecting ancient warnings to the modern moment. The stillness beneath the red glow deepens the impression, turning observation into reflection. The color alone seems to speak, drawing attention upward. Some explain it as dust scattering light, yet the explanation does not erase the unease created by the transformation. The sky appears changed, not merely dimmed, and the emotional impact lingers. The crimson tone spreads across rooftops and roads, making familiar places feel distant. Witnesses describe quiet streets and slowed movement, as though the world paused under a silent signal. The event becomes more than a weather shift. It becomes an atmosphere filled with tension, a reminder that dramatic skies capture attention in ways few events can. Revelation 6:12 records another moment tied to upheaval in the heavens. "I looked when he opened the sixth seal, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became like blood." The passage reinforces the idea that altered light carries Meaning, a red horizon, dim sun, and thick haze together echo that imagery. The sky itself appears to participate in the narrative, moving attention from earthbound scenes to celestial change. After flames on frozen ground and lights in human hands, now the heavens shift color, and while the crimson haze slowly drifts away, distant clouds begin to pulse with flashes, hinting that the next sign will not remain silent. 4. Lightning rides across darkened clouds. Dark clouds gather and churn with restless motion, covering the horizon in heavy layers of shadow. Suddenly, blinding flashes erupt from within the storm, lighting the sky in violent bursts that reveal the landscape for only a heartbeat. Each strike slices through darkness with overwhelming force, followed by thunder that rolls across the earth without end. The air feels charged, alive with tension that presses downward. The storm does not drift quietly. It pulses, flashes, and roars. The repeated bursts create the impression of something being written above, bright strokes across blackness. Light appears, vanishes, then returns stronger, building rhythm and urgency. The heavens no longer feel distant. They feel active, powerful, and impossible to ignore. Footage captured near Kununurra in Western Australia shows a powerful lightning storm during a period of extreme heat. Time-lapse images reveal dense clouds swirling, while lightning repeatedly ignites the sky from within. The Kimberley region is known for intense pre-wet season storms, yet this display appears relentless. Strike follows strike, illuminating the horizon in rapid succession. The ground below remains dark, dwarfed by the scale of light above. Each flash exposes silhouettes of land and cloud, then plunges everything back into darkness. The repetition intensifies the atmosphere, creating a sense of mounting pressure. The sky appears to speak through brightness and sound, turning the storm into a dramatic display of force. Exodus 19:16-19 describes thunder and lightning, announcing divine presence. Then it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there were thunderings and lightnings and a thick cloud on the mountain, and the sound of the trumpet was very loud, so that all the people who were in the camp trembled. And Moses brought the people out of the camp to meet with God, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. Now, Mount Sinai was completely in smoke, because the Lord descended upon it in fire. Its smoke ascended like the smoke of a furnace, and the whole mountain quaked greatly. And when the blast of the trumpet sounded long and became louder and louder, Moses spoke, and God answered him by voice. The storm echoes these elements: light, thunder, smoke, and trembling. The connection strengthens the impression that such displays carry meaning beyond spectacle. Some describe lightning as the result of heat and instability in the atmosphere. Yet the relentless repetition of flashes leaves a stronger emotional impact. Each bolt pierces darkness with sudden authority. Thunder follows like a proclamation rolling across open land. Observers often feel awe mixed with unease, sensing power far beyond human reach. The rhythm builds tension, turning observation into anticipation. The sky does not simply illuminate clouds. It confronts the earth with force. Revelation 8:5 records lightning associated with judgment. Then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and threw it to the earth. And there were noises, thunderings, lightnings, and an earthquake. The sequence forms a pattern of escalation. Sound grows, light intensifies, the ground responds. The storm mirrors this progression, flashes revealing, thunder declaring, darkness returning between strikes. The heavens no longer glow quietly. They strike. And while the thunder fades into distance, winds begin to gather elsewhere, twisting downward toward the ground. 5. Funnel descends from angry skies. The horizon darkens, and a rotating column begins to stretch downward from the storm. Wind pulls dust and debris into a tightening spiral, and the air fills with a deep, restless motion. The funnel appears suddenly, yet its presence transforms the calm landscape into a place of tension. Clouds churn overhead, while the ground below seems to wait for impact. The movement is sudden, direct, and impossible to ignore. The sky no longer flashes from afar. It reaches downward, connecting heaven and earth in a single violent gesture. Earlier in the evening, near the West Texas and Oklahoma border, A possible tornado was spotted forming beneath severe storms. Weather alerts warned that dangerous conditions could continue through the night. A tornado watch remained in effect, signaling the potential for rapid development. The video captures the funnel lowering toward open land, its rotation clearly visible against the dark sky. The storm system surrounding it grows unstable, with strong winds feeding the formation. The moment unfolds quickly, turning an ordinary stretch of land into a scene marked by urgency and concern. Nahum 1-3 describes divine power moving through storms. The Lord is slow to anger and great in power, and will not at all acquit the wicked. The Lord has his way in the whirlwind and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. The image of a whirlwind descending from clouds echoes this ancient description. The rotating column appears like a physical reminder that storms have long been associated with authority beyond human control. The funnel becomes more than a meteorological feature. It resembles a sign carried within the wind. Meteorologists often explain tornado formation through clashing air masses and instability within thunderstorms. Yet the visual impact of a funnel lowering from dark clouds carries a deeper emotional weight. The spiral looks deliberate, focused, and purposeful. The rotation tightens, drawing attention to the fragile boundary between calm and chaos. Observers often describe a feeling of vulnerability, realizing how quickly the atmosphere can transform. The storm no longer stays distant. It reaches down toward the surface, making the warning feel immediate. Psalm 83-15 offers another image of divine force in motion. So pursue them with your tempest and frighten them with your storm. The words portray wind as an instrument of awakening. The twisting column over open land reflects that sense of urgency, a movement that demands attention. The sky seems to act with intention, pushing humanity to recognize its fragility. The funnel stands like a visible call to awareness, turning fear into reflection. Some say this tornado is only one of many seasonal storms common in the region. Yet its sudden appearance following thunder and lightning intensifies the narrative. The signs grow closer, shifting from distant flashes to direct contact with the ground. The air tightens, the spiral lowers, and the warning feels more immediate than before. And while this narrow funnel spins across open land, another storm system begins forming nearby, one that will grow wider, darker, and far more destructive. 6. Rope tornado touches quiet fields. A dark storm base hangs low above quiet farmland, and from its center, a narrow rope begins to descend. The funnel appears dangerously thin, yet it moves with unsettling intention. The column stretches downward, wavering slightly, while dust begins to stir beneath it. Power lines cut across the frame, emphasizing how close the rotating air has come to ordinary life. The surrounding fields remain calm, intensifying the unease. The sky no longer sends distant flashes or distant thunder. It lowers a precise line toward the ground. The motion feels deliberate, almost targeted. The connection between cloud and soil forms silently, and the simplicity of the shape makes the moment more disturbing. What looks small at first begins to carry weight far beyond its size. Near West Liberty in Iowa, a rope-like tornado touched down during an active severe weather day. Handheld footage shows the narrow funnel descending from a dark cloud base and moving slowly across the horizon. Nearby communities received warnings, and sirens sounded in areas including Iowa City. Reports confirmed multiple brief tornadoes forming throughout eastern Iowa. The funnel appears short-lived, yet the atmosphere changes immediately. The open farmland becomes tense, and attention shifts from distant storms to something touching the earth itself. Even a small, rotating column has the potential to disrupt homes, roads, and crops. The presence of rotation at ground level signals that escalation has begun. Ecclesiastes 4:12 presents a symbolic image of cords and strength. Though one may be overpowered by another, two can withstand him, and a threefold cord is not quickly broken. The descending funnel resembles a cord drawn between heaven and earth. The imagery invites reflection, a line connecting sky and land. The simplicity of the shape amplifies its impact. The quiet countryside becomes a stage for something subtle yet unsettling. The visual feels intentional, as though a marker has been placed across the horizon. The thin line appears fragile, yet its meaning feels heavy. Some describe rope tornadoes as weaker stages within rotating storms. Yet the narrow column does not reduce the tension it creates. The funnel looks precise, almost like a pointer aimed at the ground. Its movement appears controlled, deliberate, and close. The contrast between calm fields and twisting air heightens unease. Observers sense that the warning has moved closer to everyday life. The progression from distant lightning to descending rotation suggests a shift in intensity. The sky no longer flashes above. It reaches downward. Luke 21:25-26 speaks of signs that stir fear and uncertainty. And there will be signs in the sun, in the moon, and in the stars, and on the earth, distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring, men's hearts failing them from fear, and the expectation of those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of the heavens will be shaken. The funnel touching the ground echoes that description. The quiet farmland appears less secure beneath a changing sky. The slender column forms, lifts, and leaves tension behind. The escalation continues. The line fades, yet elsewhere a darker rotation begins to widen, gathering strength that will no longer appear small. 7. Wall of wind sweeps across the plains. The horizon darkens until a massive wedge-shaped shadow forms beneath the storm. The tornado appears wide and heavy, its base stretching across fields like a moving wall. Debris lifts into the air and spins violently, while flashes of light from exploding transformers puncture the darkness. The roar grows louder, deep, and continuous, drowning out everything around it. The rotation looks relentless, pressing forward with overwhelming force. The sky no longer sends thin signals. It unleashes a towering presence that commands fear. Footage recorded near Lake City in Arkansas captured a destructive wedge tornado advancing across open land. Storm chasers documented intense rotation, flying debris, and horizontal vortices circling the main funnel. Authorities issued a rare tornado emergency while observers maneuvered to escape. Wind estimates during coverage approached 200 miles per hour. The tornado carved across roads and fields, leaving a path marked by damage and silence. The sheer width of the formation made it appear less like a funnel and more like a moving wall descending upon the earth. Job 38:1 describes a voice from the storm. Then the Lord answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, "The image of God speaking from within a whirlwind transforms violent wind into a place of confrontation." The massive wedge over Arkansas resembles a courtroom where the heavens declare authority. The storm does not whisper, it roars, demanding attention. The scale of the funnel suggests not only power but accountability. A reminder that humanity stands small beneath forces it cannot command. Meteorologists explain wedge tornadoes through powerful supercell storms and extreme wind shear. Yet the visual impact of a storm that is moving steadily forward creates a deeper sense of dread. The formation appears deliberate, its broad base swallowing the horizon. The roar echoes across open land, turning distance into immediacy. Observers often describe feeling overwhelmed, realizing that escape depends on speed and awareness. The storm shifts perception from warning to confrontation. Jeremiah 23:19 records a storm tied to judgment. "Behold, a whirlwind of the Lord has gone forth in fury, even a violent whirlwind. It will fall violently on the head of the wicked." The language mirrors the intensity of a wedge tornado sweeping across the ground. The violent motion resembles a force unleashed with purpose. The storm becomes more than weather. It looks like a declaration that consequences follow disregard. The earth trembles beneath a wind that feels charged with meaning. Some argue that violent tornadoes occur every year in certain regions, yet the progression from narrow funnels to a massive wedge suggests escalation. The signs grow louder, wider, and more unavoidable. The wall of wind presses forward, leaving behind a silence that feels heavier than before. And while the roar fades over Arkansas, another kind of movement begins elsewhere, where the ground itself starts to shift beneath buildings. 8. Ground splits beneath our feet. The ground splits open, without warning. A long crack ripping across the pavement as the street sinks beside tall residential buildings. Rain falls steadily, yet the collapse feels abrupt, as if the earth itself has betrayed its own stability. Asphalt bends and drops, leaving jagged edges where solid ground once stood. People stop in their tracks, frozen by the realization that what seemed permanent can vanish in seconds. The movement is slow but relentless, each millimeter of descent a reminder that daily life rests on fragile foundations. Calm observation cannot mask the unease that spreads through the neighborhood. The familiar becomes unfamiliar in the blink of an eye. In Rappolla, Italy, heavy rainfall triggered a landslide, causing a retaining wall to fail in the town center. Video footage captures a large section of road, cracking and sinking near multi-story homes. Authorities evacuated several families as firefighters and local officials worked to stabilize the area. The sudden fracture exposes the instability hidden beneath everyday surfaces, transforming a normal street into a striking display of vulnerability. What once felt reliable now appears treacherous, the land itself asserting power over human structures. Psalm 46, 2-3 reflects this precariousness. Therefore we will not fear, even though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea. Though its waters roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with its swelling. The sinking road embodies the imagery of shifting earth, replacing assumed stability with sudden uncertainty. Observers feel a chill as they watch foundations crumble, aware that security is never guaranteed. Some may cite saturated soil and weakened walls as the cause, yet the spectacle carries emotional resonance far beyond technical explanation. The pavement, folding downward, represents routines, movement, and safety dissolving before our eyes. Luke 6:49 warns, "But he who heard and did nothing is like a man who built a house on the earth without a foundation, against which the stream beat vehemently, and immediately it fell. And the ruin of that house was great." The fractured street becomes a metaphor for vigilance, for the unseen support beneath what we trust. The signs escalate. First, the skies roared, then winds tore through landscapes, and now the earth itself begins to shift. The fear moves from chaotic spectacle to subtle menace, from lightning and tornadoes to sinking foundations. And as the road settles into the fractured soil, elsewhere another structure teeters, a bridge poised to collapse above rising waters. The warning grows clearer. Nothing is immune, and even the ground beneath our feet can turn against us. 9. Bridge plunges into raging floods. The bridge plunges into roaring floodwaters, the midsection plunging with sudden violence. Concrete shatters, steel bends, and the central span tilts before sinking into the turbulent river below. The current churns relentlessly, carrying debris downstream, while drone footage reveals a yawning gap where vehicles once crossed. The rushing water dominates the scene, a sound more like judgment than accident. A vital connection between communities vanishes within moments, leaving only fractured edges facing each other across a widening void. The collapse feels decisive, immediate, and final, as though the earth itself enforces a boundary against human certainty. The State Road 16 bridge over the Trigno River, linking Abruzzo and Molise, gave way after relentless storms and heavy rainfall. Authorities had preemptively closed the route due to swelling waters, yet the midsection could not withstand the pressure and fell into the river. While no lives were lost, the impact rippled through the region. Flooding, snow, and infrastructural strain compounded the sense of upheaval. What once facilitated movement and trade now rests submerged beneath frothing water, a stark reminder of fragility under forces beyond human control. Isaiah 24:19-20 reflects the severity of such loss. The earth is utterly broken down. The earth shall reel to and fro like a drunkard, and shall be removed like a cottage, and it shall fall, and not rise again. Quote, the fallen bridge mirrors this language, transforming an engineering failure into a symbolic rupture. What connected lives and regions now lies severed, a physical testament to instability. Observers may note flood levels and structural stress, yet the emotional resonance surpasses technical explanation. The broken span becomes a line etched across the land, dividing what once flowed freely and reminding all who witness that even trusted systems can fail. Nahum 1:5-6 continues this warning. The mountains quake at him, and the hills melt, and the earth is burned at his presence. Who can stand before his indignation, and who can abide in the fierceness of his anger? The river swells, debris spins, and certainty dissolves in the same way. The collapse feels less like coincidence and more like an assertion of authority beyond human comprehension. And while fragments drift downstream, the sequence of signs escalates further, each one louder and more undeniable, preparing the world for the final, decisive moment that will close this unfolding chain. 10. Sea and earth tremble as one. The sea heaves as the earth trembles beneath, and the tremor spreads outward with violent force. Buildings sway, walls fracture, and streets fill with alarm. The ocean responds with restless movement, waves rising along distant coastlines. Sirens wail as people rush into open spaces, feeling the ground pulse beneath their feet. The shaking reaches deep into foundations, unsettling structures long thought secure. The moment feels final, where every prior sign converges into one overwhelming movement of the earth itself. A few days ago, a powerful earthquake struck near the Molucca Sea off Ternate in Indonesia. The magnitude surpassed 7, damaging buildings and shaking multiple districts. Collapsed halls, cracked government offices, and dozens of destroyed homes were reported. Casualties and missing persons heightened concern, while tsunami alerts extended toward the coastlines of Malaysia and the Philippines. Small waves lapped nearby shores, and aftershocks prolonged tension across the region. The trembling ground created a final escalation, turning fear into urgent awareness. Revelation 16:18 declares ultimate upheaval, and there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such a mighty and great earthquake as had not occurred since men were on the earth. The shaking in Indonesia mirrors this apocalyptic tone. The passage describes not only motion but authority, a declaration that the earth itself responds to divine command. Buildings crumble, seas roar, and the world seems poised under judgment. Revelation 6:12-14 intensifies the verdict. I looked when he opened the sixth seal, and behold, there was a great earthquake. The stars of heaven fell to the earth. Every mountain and island was moved out of its place. The quake becomes more than motion. It reads like a final sentence pronounced upon a trembling world. The ground shakes, the sea roils, and humanity feels the weight of the moment. Connections collapse, roads sink, bridges fall, and storms rage. Now, the earth itself moves with unmistakable force. The sequence closes with urgency, revealing the authority behind these events. The shaking does not merely disturb land. It confronts hearts and demands reflection. The final tremor stands as a closing sign, a decisive reminder that the world remains under the sovereign hand of the Lord. And the call to turn back carries a gravity that can no longer be ignored. 10 signs have shaken sky, wind, water, and earth, forming a picture far larger than any single event. Storms twisted violently across open land, narrow funnels descended on quiet fields, and a massive wedge tore through roads. The ground split, the bridge collapsed into rising waters, and the sea convulsed with tremors felt for miles. Each moment pointed beyond itself, echoing the biblical vision of a world stirred, warning, and awakened. Together, these signs write a message across creation, calling hearts to lift their eyes and recognize the story Scripture has long revealed. These events are not meant to terrify, but to awaken. The Bible calls believers to watch, pray, and stand firm in faith. Now is the time to seek God with humility, to place trust fully in His sovereign hand, and to ready our hearts for what is coming. Let these signs move us to prayer and reflection, uniting voices in faith across distance and circumstance. Leave a short prayer or reflection to encourage others. Like, share, or comment to help hearts stay vigilant. May the Lord bless you and your loved ones. Amen. Are these sudden signs across sky and earth warning us that time is slipping away?
In the desert. However, when torrential rains continue for over 2 weeks,
could the world be unraveling faster than we can even see? Rainbow clouds shimmer with impossible colors, their glow fading in seconds. Silence spreads beneath them, while phones rise toward the sky. Flames burn over San Francisco, smoke swallowing daylight and turning the horizon into a burning orange wall. People freeze as the air grows heavy and the glow deepens across the city. High above, a greenish sky ripples, bending light into unnatural shades. Fear replaces wonder, while the color thickens like a warning no one can ignore. Then, a perfect hole opens in the clouds, a silent rupture suspended over still air. Cameras lift again, searching for meaning inside the circular gap. The atmosphere tightens, and the heavens seem to hold their breath. Storms surge across Arizona, lightning stabbing the darkness while wind pushes forward like an advancing force. The roar spreads across the desert, swallowing calm and leaving only tension behind. Everything builds, faster and louder, each sign pressing closer to the next. The air turns heavy, and the pattern becomes impossible to dismiss. 10 signs, 1 warning, and it begins now. 1. Rainbow clouds, flashing like a heavenly signal. The sky bloomed with colors too pure for ordinary nature. Thin clouds stretched high above, while radiant hues shimmered like a living tapestry. Silence spread across the landscape as people lifted their eyes, drawn into a beauty that felt intentional. Soft, iridescent tones drifted through the air, glowing with a quiet brilliance that stirred reverence. For a brief instant, the world slowed, and attention turned upward. Cameras lifted almost instinctively, capturing a vision that seemed to carry meaning beyond coincidence. The colors rippled across delicate clouds and shifted in gentle waves. Light refracted through frozen particles, forming luminous patterns that appeared almost painted. The display lasted only minutes, yet its rarity intensified the impact. People froze beneath the glow, watching the sky transform into something serene and mysterious. The air turned heavy with contemplation, as though the atmosphere itself invited reflection. Even after the hues softened, the memory lingered with unusual clarity. Psalm 19:1 offers a powerful lens for such a moment. Psalm 19:1. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. These words frame the spectacle as a proclamation rather than a coincidence. The shimmering colors resembled a message written across the heavens. Faith transformed visual beauty into spiritual meaning. The gentle radiance became a quiet testimony pointing beyond the visible world. Questions surfaced as the colors faded. Why did such harmony appear so briefly? Why did calm blend with awe so naturally? Fear replaced wonder for some, not from danger but from the realization that creation itself can command attention. The explanation spoke of light and crystals, yet emotion reached deeper. The stillness that followed encouraged reflection, as though the sky had opened and closed within a single breath. Job 37-14 strengthens that call to reflection. Job 37-14. Listen to this, Job. Stop and consider God's wonders. The verse urges humanity to pause and observe carefully. The radiant clouds aligned with this invitation. Beauty became instruction. The heavens seemed to guide viewers toward humility, reminding them that creation holds layered meaning beyond immediate understanding. Revelation 4-3 adds imagery that resonates with the vision. Revelation 4-3. And he that sat was to look upon like a jasper and a sardine stone, and there was a rainbow round about the throne, in sight like unto an emerald. The verse describes celestial colors surrounding divine presence. The shimmering sky echoed that description, suggesting a glimpse of heavenly symbolism. The glow faded gradually, leaving ordinary blue behind. Yet, anticipation remained, because a gentle sign had appeared. And somewhere beyond that calm beauty, another transformation was already gathering. 2. Orange darkness swallows a city in firelight. Morning arrived, yet the sun never truly appeared. The heavens burned with a deep orange glow that covered the city in an eerie twilight. Silence spread across empty streets while people stepped outside and looked upward, unsure whether they were witnessing dawn or judgment. The light pressed against buildings and reflected off windows like a warning written across the horizon. Shadows vanished and colors drained from the world. Cameras lifted slowly, capturing a sky that no longer comforted but confronted. On the 9th of September, 2020, the day passed beneath this glowing veil. More than 2 million acres of land had already burned nearby, and smoke filled the atmosphere so densely that sunlight could not break through. The familiar blue disappeared completely, replaced by an intense orange that lingered for hours. People froze at intersections, with headlights glowing in the daytime. Shops dimmed their lights, and homes remained quiet. The air turned heavy, and photographs spread across the world, though images struggled to convey the stillness beneath the burning sky. Joel 2:30-31 speaks with chilling clarity. Joel 2:30-31. And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and terrible day of the Lord come." End quote. The resemblance between prophecy and reality unsettled many hearts. The orange heavens echoed ancient warnings. Fear replaced wonder while the glow deepened, and faith interpreted the scene as more than weather. The strange light lingered through the day, creating calm mixed with unease. Birds fell quiet, and traffic slowed to a crawl. Conversations turned cautious, and the absence of sunlight felt symbolic. The landscape appeared fragile beneath the fiery canopy. The darkness reached beyond the horizon and stirred reflection within. Even those seeking ordinary explanations sensed that something profound had unfolded. The sky seemed wounded, and the silence encouraged repentance. Matthew 24:7-8 adds another solemn reminder. Matthew 24:7-8. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. These words carried new weight under the orange sky. Many connected the glow with growing instability across the world. The heavens appeared to declare that comfort can shift suddenly. Some pointed to smoke and fire, yet deeper questions remained. Why did the sky mirror prophecy so closely? Why did anxiety grow beneath the glow? The explanation described particles and light, yet faith perceived intention. Revelation 6:12 reinforces that impression. Revelation 6:12. And I beheld when he had opened the sixth seal, and, lo, there was a great earthquake, and the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood. The memory lingered even after the orange faded, and many continued to glance upward, sensing that another sign was already forming. 3. Unnatural green glow spreading across the horizon. The sky shifted into a color rarely seen, a deep green glow spreading across the clouds like a veil drawn over the world. Light dimmed abruptly, and the air turned dense. Silence spread across streets while people paused mid-step and looked upward with confusion. The horizon appeared unnatural, painted in a shade that felt distant and ominous. Fear replaced wonder as the glow thickened and shadows deepened. The atmosphere tightened, creating the sense that something powerful had taken hold above. Rain clouds gathered, while the strange color intensified. Trees darkened beneath the tinted light, and buildings reflected the green hue in distorted tones. Cameras lifted quickly, capturing landscapes that appeared unfamiliar and surreal. The air turned heavy, and conversations faded into whispers. People froze, unsure whether they were witnessing beauty or danger. The glow lingered just long enough to feel deliberate, holding attention with quiet force. Exodus 10:21 describes a darkness sent with purpose. Exodus 10:21. And the Lord said unto Moses, Stretch out thine hand toward heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. The verse speaks of darkness that presses upon the land. The green sky carried that same tangible weight. Many believers saw the unusual color as a reminder that the Lord can alter the heavens to deliver warnings. The heavy air mirrored the seriousness of that ancient sign. The glow deepened further, bending perception and unsettling the familiar world. The unnatural color made ordinary surroundings appear fragile. Even those seeking simple explanations remained watching. The sky commanded attention with silent authority. The stillness was no longer comforted. It intensified vulnerability and stirred quiet fear. The green hue seemed to hold the landscape in suspension, urging reflection beneath an altered heaven. Luke 21:25 adds another prophetic image. Luke 21:25, "And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth, distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring." The phrase, "signs in the sun," resonated strongly beneath the strange glow. The color left many perplexed, searching for meaning. Faith interpreted the moment as a signal woven into creation. The heavens appeared to reveal a coded warning. Some pointed to clouds and light, yet the emotional weight remained. The timing felt precise and the tension unmistakable. Explanation described appearance, yet faith addressed purpose. Revelation 8-7 reinforces the imagery. Revelation 8-7. "The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire, mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth." The dramatic language echoed the sense that skies can shift suddenly. The green glow faded gradually, but anticipation remained, because a far more dramatic rupture in the clouds was already forming. 4. Perfect circular opening appearing in the clouds. A circular gap suddenly appeared among thick clouds, creating the impression that the sky itself had been parted by an unseen force. The edges looked unnaturally smooth, revealing a bright layer of light above the darker mass. Silence spread as people noticed the strange formation. Cameras lifted almost instinctively. The contrast between gray clouds and the luminous opening sharpened the mystery. Fear replaced wonder as the shape held steady, too precise to ignore. The air turned heavy, and the stillness felt deliberate, as if something hidden had briefly been exposed. The opening did not shift like ordinary clouds. It remained fixed while darker layers drifted slowly around it. Sunlight poured through the center, illuminating the air beneath with an eerie calm. People froze, watching the symmetry hold against moving winds. The shape felt controlled, not random. The light appeared distant, yet focused, like a spotlight cast from beyond sight. Conversations faded. The sky no longer looked natural. Unease spread as the opening lingered longer than expected, refusing to dissolve. Genesis 1-6 records the creation of the firmament. Genesis 1-6. "And God said, Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters." End quote. The passage speaks of separation within the heavens. The circular gap echoed that division, revealing layered depth above the clouds. Many believers saw more than coincidence. The sky appeared structured by unseen authority. The defined edges strengthened the impression that order had been imposed. The opening looked less like weather and more like a controlled unveiling. The circle slowly widened, and rays of light stretched outward across the darker sky. The brightness contrasted sharply with surrounding shadows. The air turned heavy beneath the glow. People paused in silence, sensing that the moment carried meaning. The clouds shifted, yet the center remained intact. The tension increased. What began as curiosity transformed into unease. The sky seemed to hold attention intentionally, refusing to release the gaze below. The stillness deepened, pressing down with quiet force. Psalm 19:1 offers another reflection. Psalm 19:1. "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork." The verse resonated strongly beneath the strange opening. The circle appeared like a deliberate mark across the sky. Light streaming through it suggested design rather than accident. Many felt the moment demanded humility. The heavens seemed to display control within chaos. The calm glow carried weight, as though something beyond human understanding had briefly revealed itself. Some searched for explanations, yet the emotional impact remained. The symmetry, timing, and silence created lasting tension. The opening held, then slowly began to collapse inward. The sky appeared to close deliberately. The bright layer faded, and gray clouds reclaimed the space. The moment ended, but but unease lingered. Ezekiel 1:1 echoes this imagery. Ezekiel 1:1. The heavens were opened, and I saw visions of God. The brief gap recalled that ancient description. The heavens had parted, then sealed again, leaving anticipation behind, as though a far more dramatic sign was already forming beyond the horizon. 5. Towering storm wall, advancing with lightning. A wall of dark clouds surged across the horizon, swallowing the calm landscape in minutes. The air turned heavy and the light dimmed abruptly. Silence spread as the sky shifted into deep blue tones, a faint glow pulsing near the center. People froze, sensing the approach of something powerful. Lightning flashed early, cutting through the clouds and revealing towering layers, rising like moving mountains. The contrast between still ground and violent sky created immediate tension. Fear replaced wonder as thunder rolled in the distance, low and persistent, like a warning carried on the wind. The storm expanded rapidly, lifting clouds into massive structures that seemed to climb higher with every second. Wind swept across the land, bending trees and scattering dust. Cameras lifted as the formation thickened. The blue glow intensified within the core, creating an eerie radiance that refused to fade. Lightning flickered repeatedly, exposing depth inside the cloud wall. The sky appeared alive, shifting and building with controlled force. The air turned heavy again, pressing downward. What began as spectacle quickly felt dangerous, as though the heavens were gathering strength. Psalm 29:3-4 declares the authority behind storms. Psalm 29:3-4. The voice of the Lord is upon the waters. The God of glory thundereth. The Lord is upon many waters. The voice of the Lord is powerful. The voice of the Lord is full of majesty. Thunder crashed closer, echoing those words across the landscape. Each flash of lightning illuminated the clouds like a sudden revelation. The storm no longer felt random. Many sensed reverence mixed with unease. The heavens displayed power that demanded attention. The clouds thickened further, darkening everything beneath. Rain curtains appeared in the distance, blurring the horizon. The glowing center pulsed faintly as lightning struck again. People stepped back, watching the storm advance with steady force. The ground remained still while the sky churned overhead. The imbalance heightened tension. The formation moved like a wall, deliberate and unstoppable. Thunder deepened, vibrating through the air. The moment shifted from admiration to concern as the storm approached. Job 37:5 reinforces the message. Job 37:5. God thundereth marvelously with his voice. Great things doeth he, which we cannot comprehend. The storm embodied this description. Lightning illuminated swirling shapes inside the clouds. Beauty and warning blended together. The sky seemed to demonstrate strength beyond human control. Nahum 1-3 adds another image. Nahum 1-3. The Lord hath his way in the whirlwind and in the storm, and the clouds are the dust of his feet. The advancing formation mirrored that authority in motion. Wind intensified, and thunder rolled directly overhead. The glow faded as darkness spread across the sky. The storm pushed forward, commanding silence below. Then, gradually, the clouds began to shift away. The thunder weakened, but tension remained. The air stayed charged, as though the atmosphere itself expected more. The mighty storm passed, yet anticipation lingered. Because beyond the fading thunder, another sign was already beginning to emerge. 6. Living ring of creatures moving across still water. A living circle moved across the still water, shifting like a symbol that had come alive. Tiny dark shapes clustered tightly, forming a ring that pulsed with subtle motion. Silence spread as people leaned closer, unsure whether they were witnessing instinct or something far stranger. The surface remained calm, yet the formation moved with quiet precision. Cameras lifted. The circle tightened, then loosened, then reformed again without breaking. Fear replaced wonder as the pattern held steady. The air turned heavy, and the slow motion made the scene feel deliberate rather than accidental. The small creatures continued moving in perfect coordination. Their synchronized motion created a shimmering outline that caught the light. People froze as the ring rotated gently, maintaining its shape despite ripples. The precision felt unnatural. The water reflected the formation, doubling the eerie effect. The circle drifted slightly, yet never collapsed. Curiosity shifted into unease. The smallest movements appeared guided, as though an unseen force held the formation together. The calm surroundings amplified every motion, making the living ring impossible to ignore. Ecclesiastes 3:1 speaks of order within creation. Ecclesiastes 3:1, to everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. End quote. The coordinated movement seemed to echo that structure. Even these tiny creatures appeared aligned with purpose. The ring resembled a miniature display of harmony imposed upon chaos. Many viewers sensed that something beyond instinct shaped the motion. The circle tightened again, pulsing faintly across the water, holding attention with quiet authority. The ring drifted slowly, maintaining its form as if anchored by invisible boundaries. Cameras lifted higher, capturing the symmetry from above. The creatures never scattered completely. They flowed around the circle's edge, continuously rebuilding the shape. The still water intensified the tension. The formation resembled a symbol more than random behavior. Fear replaced curiosity as the movement continued without interruption. The living ring seemed to resist disorder, reinforcing the sense of control. Matthew 10:29 offers another reflection. Matthew 10:29, are not two sparrows sold for a farthing, and one of them shall not fall on the ground without your Father. The verse highlights care even for the smallest life. The coordinated ring reflected that attention. The tiny creatures appeared guided within a larger design. The motion remained calm, yet unsettling. The circle loosened briefly, then reformed once more, strengthening the impression of direction. Some stepped back, disturbed by the persistence of the pattern. Others watched in silence, unable to look away. The contrast between calm water and organized movement heightened tension. Proverbs 16:9 deepens the meaning. Proverbs 16:9, a man's heart deviseth his way, but the Lord directeth his steps. The ring seemed directed rather than random. Slowly, the formation thinned and dissolved. The water returned to stillness, but unease lingered. Even the smallest creatures had moved with eerie precision. And beyond the quiet surface, another astonishing sign was already beginning to emerge. 7. Sheep walking in endless circles. A flock of sheep moved in a slow, perfect circle across an open field, each animal following the one ahead without hesitation. The pattern continued without pause, forming a loop that led nowhere. Silence spread as the repetition became impossible to ignore. Dust lifted lightly beneath their hooves, while the circle tightened and stretched again. People froze, watching the motion continue with mechanical consistency. Fear replaced wonder. The animals never broke formation. The path offered no destination, yet the flock remained committed. The calm landscape contrasted sharply with the unsettling persistence of the movement. The sheep continued walking, heads lowered, guided only by the presence of those in front. The rhythm of their steps created a hypnotic pattern. Cameras lifted as the circle deepened. No animal attempted to leave. The field became a stage for quiet tension. The repetition suggested movement without purpose. The air turned heavy as the loop continued. The flock moved as one, bound by imitation rather than direction. The simplicity of the behavior made it more disturbing. The endless circle appeared deliberate, as though the animals were trapped in a silent routine. Isaiah 53:6 speaks directly to this image. Isaiah 53:6, all we like sheep have gone astray. We have turned every one to his own way. 2. And the Lord hath laid on him the iniquity of us all. The circular motion echoed, wandering without guidance. The flock followed instinct, unaware of the path repeating beneath them. Many viewers saw symbolism in the endless loop. The movement looked calm, yet the meaning felt sobering. The sheep walked faithfully, but without direction. The circle became a visual parable. The formation held for minutes. The animals maintained their order, never breaking rhythm. The field remained quiet, while the loop persisted. The repetition created inevitability. Dust continued to rise in faint clouds. The sheep trusted motion more than destination. The air turned heavy again as the circle widened, then tightened once more. The uniformity deepened unease. The flock moved together, yet seemed confined by their own following. John 10:27 offers contrast. John 10:27. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me." The flock in the field appeared to lack that guiding voice. The endless motion highlighted the difference between leadership and imitation. The repetition felt incomplete, as though direction had been removed. The sheep symbol grew stronger with each loop. The circle remained unbroken, reinforcing the sense of dependence. Some stepped closer, unsettled by the persistence. Others remained silent, unable to look away. The animals continued following, even as the path repeated endlessly. The scene suggested routine without awareness. Psalm 23 to 1-2 deepens the reflection. Psalm 23 to 1-2. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. The contrast was striking. Without a shepherd, the flock wandered in circles. Slowly, the movement loosened. A few sheep drifted outward. The loop weakened and faded. The field returned to calm. Yet the unsettling lesson remained. And beyond that quiet pasture, another sign was already beginning to draw attention upward once more. 8. Lone penguin, appearing thousands of kilometers from home. Thousands of kilometers from its frozen homeland. A lone penguin stood on a quiet shoreline, far from any place it should exist. Waves rolled gently behind it, but the distance it had crossed felt impossible. Silence spread as people noticed the solitary figure. Cameras lifted. The animal remained still, looking across unfamiliar sand as if searching for direction. Fear replaced wonder as reality settled in. This was not its world. The ocean stretched endlessly behind it, hinting at a journey filled with unseen dangers. The air turned heavy, and the lonely presence made the moment feel unsettling rather than peaceful. The small traveler stayed near the water, resting after an immense passage across open sea. No flock surrounded it. No icy landscape offered familiarity. The penguin appeared lost, yet calm. People froze, studying its quiet composure. The contrast between fragile size and vast distance deepened tension. Each wave seemed to underline isolation. The shoreline felt too warm, too empty. The creature's stillness made the journey feel deliberate, as though it had been carried far beyond expectation. Curiosity shifted into concern as the penguin remained alone. Proverbs 3-5-6 offers guidance for moments like this. Proverbs 3-5-6. Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. The improbable arrival echoed direction beyond human planning. The penguin had crossed enormous distances and survived. Many viewers sensed that the path, though confusing, was not random. The traveler stood quietly, embodying endurance, guided by unseen purpose. The vast ocean behind it reinforced the magnitude of the journey. The penguin began moving slowly along the sand, leaving small footprints behind. Cameras followed each step. The motion appeared careful, uncertain, yet steady. The creature glanced toward the water, then toward land, as though weighing its next move. The isolation intensified the scene. No other animals appeared nearby. The beach remained silent. The traveler's calm posture contrasted with the danger implied by such distance. The moment shifted from curiosity to quiet tension. Psalm 121-8 deepens the reflection. Psalm 121-8. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. The long voyage across unknown waters mirrored this promise of protection. The penguin's safe arrival seemed unlikely, yet undeniable. The gentle waves framed the solitary figure like a silent testimony. The journey felt both mysterious and purposeful. Some stepped back, unsettled by the idea of such displacement. Others watched in silence, unable to look away. Isaiah 46-4 adds reassurance. Isaiah 46-4. Even to your old age I am he, and even to hoar hairs will I carry you. I have made, and I will bear, even I will carry, and will deliver you. The traveler appeared, carried across vast distances. The penguin paused, then looked toward the horizon. The shoreline slowly returned to normal, but the sense of mystery remained. The lost traveler stood quietly, and beyond that distant coast, another astonishing sign was already beginning to rise into view. 9. Oil, erupting from desert. Men stood in the middle of a vast desert. Searching desperately for water beneath a relentless sun, the land stretched endlessly, dry and silent, amplifying their urgency. Silence spread as tools struck the hardened ground. Cameras lifted, capturing each movement. Hope centered on survival. Then suddenly, a dark liquid burst upward with force, spraying into the hot air. People froze. Fear replaced expectation. They had searched for water, yet something entirely different emerged. The contrast between thirst and discovery created immediate unease. The air turned heavy as the black stream continued to rise from the earth. The liquid flowed thick and dark, spreading across the sand. The men stepped back, realizing it was oil rather than water. The desert absorbed the black stream, while heat intensified its smell. Wealth appeared instantly, yet thirst remained. The irony deepened tension. The land offered riches, but no relief. The harsh landscape stayed unchanged. The discovery felt unsettling, as though the earth had responded with the wrong answer. The desert remained silent, watching the confusion unfold. Matthew 6:19-21 warns about misplaced priorities. Matthew 6:19-21. Lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. The sudden appearance of oil echoed this message. Material wealth surged from the ground, yet the deeper need remained unmet. The desert emphasized the difference between value and necessity. The black flow shimmered under the sun, impressive, yet insufficient. The stream slowed slightly, forming dark patches across golden sand. The men watched in silence. No celebration followed. The thirst remained pressing. The contrast between abundance and survival sharpened the moment. The desert seemed to deliver a lesson written directly into the earth. The stillness amplified reflection. Wealth had appeared, but life remained fragile. The scene felt symbolic rather than fortunate. 1 Timothy 6:9-10 reinforces the warning. 1 Timothy 6:9-10. But they that will be rich fall into temptation and a snare, and into many foolish and hurtful lusts, which drown men in destruction and perdition. For the love of money is the root of all evil. The oil flowing across the sand mirrored this caution. Riches emerged suddenly, yet offered no immediate survival. End quote. The harsh environment remained unchanged. The desert continued to stretch endlessly around them. John 4:14 provides final clarity. John 4:14. But whosoever drinketh of the water that I shall give him shall never thirst. The black gold could not quench thirst. Only true provision could satisfy. The flow gradually weakened, leaving dark stains behind. Silence returned. The men stood thoughtful as the desert reclaimed stillness. The unexpected treasure remained, yet the deeper need endured. And beyond the quiet sands, another extraordinary sign was already preparing to appear. 10. Relentless rain turning desert into flooded rivers. Rain began falling across a barren desert, something rare enough to draw immediate attention. At first, the water seemed gentle, soaking into cracked earth that had waited for relief. Then, the rain intensified. Clouds gathered rapidly, darkening the horizon. Silence spread as the drizzle turned into a relentless downpour. Cameras lifted, while streams formed where none had existed before. Fear replaced relief. Water began carving paths through sand, cutting channels across the landscape. The desert, known for dryness, started to shift under growing force. The air turned heavy as the rainfall refused to stop. The storm continued for days, valleys filled. Dry riverbeds awakened suddenly. Water rushed downhill, carrying sand and loose rock. People froze as the flow strengthened. What once looked harmless now moved with dangerous speed. The desert floor transformed into muddy torrents. The sound of rushing water replaced long, familiar silence. The land seemed to surrender beneath pressure. The transformation felt both miraculous and alarming. The desert, once stable, revealed hidden vulnerability. Genesis 7:11-12 recalls overwhelming waters. Genesis 7:11-12. The same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened. And the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. The desert flood echoed this imagery. Rain poured with unusual persistence, reshaping terrain quickly. Streams widened into surging channels. The water moved with authority, cutting deeper into sand. Many saw the event as more than weather. The land itself appeared to respond to a greater command. The torrents accelerated through narrow valleys. Debris gathered within the flow. Muddy currents spread outward, erasing familiar patterns. Cameras tracked the advancing water. The desert no longer looked empty. It roared with motion. The air turned heavy again as the flood expanded. The contrast between dry past and flooded present intensified tension. The transformation unfolded rapidly, leaving little time to react. Isaiah 28:2 offers a striking comparison. Isaiah 28:2, "Behold, the Lord hath a mighty and strong one, as a flood of mighty waters overflowing." The rushing torrents mirrored that description. The desert appeared overwhelmed by sudden power. Water crossed terrain that rarely sees such force. The flood carried both awe and warning. The landscape shifted under pressure. The rainfall slowed, yet water continued moving. Pools formed across wide stretches of sand. Channels remained carved into the earth. Silence gradually returned, but the marks of transformation stayed visible. Revelation 16:20-21 deepens the final image. Revelation 16:20-21 speaks of overwhelming forces reshaping the earth. The desert flood echoed that authority. What began as gentle rain ended in sweeping change. The land stood altered, the silence heavier than before. The waters receded slowly, but the message remained unmistakable. 10 signs had unfolded, each stronger than the last. And the warning no longer felt distant. The rainbow clouds, the burning orange sky, the mysterious green light, the opening in the clouds, the towering storm, the living ring in the water, the circling sheep, the wandering penguin, the oil in the desert, and the sudden flood form a powerful sequence. Each sign appeared in a different place, yet together they point in one direction. Silence spread, patterns shifted, and creation itself seemed to speak. These moments remind us that the world is not drifting without purpose. The heavens, the earth, and even the smallest creatures reflect authority beyond human control. These signs call us to pause and awaken. They urge us to seek God with sincerity, to return to prayer, humility, and trust. What did you feel while watching these moments unfold? Leave a short prayer or your thoughts in the comments so others may find encouragement. Your words may become hope for someone searching in silence. If this message stirred something within you, consider liking, sharing, and subscribing so you do not miss what comes next. Each reflection is another step towards stronger faith. Thank you for watching. May peace rest upon you and your family, and may God guide and protect you always. Amen.
This is really bad. Like that is a strong tornado.
Could the sky be moving toward a moment we can no longer ignore? The sun flickers above a crowded shoreline like a warning light. A dark, winged figure cuts across heavy clouds. A golden fireball zigzags with unsettling precision. Nearby, a black mass coils in the air, twisting without drifting. Then the scale widens. Lights surge over distant mountains. Silent triangles hover above sleeping towns. A monstrous tornado grinds across open land with overwhelming force. Each scene is filmed by ordinary witnesses, yet together they feel deliberate, urgent, and impossible to dismiss. Familiar skies begin to look unfamiliar, and calm horizons carry a rising sense of tension. 10 events unfold across distant corners, each one heavier in meaning than the last. One by one, they disturb the sky, reshape the horizon, and push a single question forward. Are these isolated anomalies or signals pointing towards something far larger? Have you noticed how often the sky feels different lately? These moments do not fade quietly. They linger, forming a pattern that grows sharper with every new sighting. Stay with us, because once each event is revealed, the connections tighten, and even the silence between them begins to feel deeply unsettling. And it all begins with the very first sign. 1. Silent object tracked by a shifting cloud, high above Haiti. A routine flight shifted into something deeply unsettling. A passenger raised a phone and captured a dark object gliding beside the aircraft, matched by a thick cloud-like mass traveling in perfect alignment. Both shapes moved together without sound, steady and controlled against a calm sky. At first it resembled smoke trailing behind a craft, yet the cloud began to twist, folding inward and stretching outward with measured precision. The motion felt deliberate, almost responsive, creating the impression that the sky itself was no longer empty, but quietly occupied by something aware. Witnesses later described how the cloud tightened around the object, then relaxed while maintaining the same distance throughout the brief recording. The precision stood out more than the duration. Locals reported similar paired formations appearing in the region before, always brief, always unexplained. No engine noise echoed through the air, and no turbulence disturbed the surrounding clouds. The horizon remained clear, while this unusual pairing drifted with quiet purpose. Viewers replayed the footage, searching for clarity, yet each viewing reinforced the same uneasy thought that the cloud was not random, and that it might have been more than a companion. Exodus 13:21 presents an image that echoes moments like this. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of a cloud to lead them the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, to go by day and night. These words describe a cloud not merely forming in the sky, but moving with guidance and intent. The Haiti footage seems to reflect that symbolism. The cloud did not scatter or drift aimlessly. It remained aligned, almost protective, almost watchful. Such motion invites the idea that the cloud itself could be the message, a quiet signal drawing attention upward. Some observers proposed ordinary atmospheric behavior, suggesting wind currents shaped vapor around a passing object. That explanation struggled to address the synchronized movement and repeated reshaping. The cloud did not disperse as expected. Instead, it held its form, adjusting with consistency. Questions grew as the footage spread. People wondered whether the cloud concealed something or whether its presence alone carried meaning. The stillness surrounding the event intensified the mystery, encouraging interpretations rooted in faith rather than mechanics. Psalm 97:2 offers another perspective. Clouds and darkness are round about him. Righteousness and judgment are the habitation of his throne. This verse portrays clouds as part of a divine presence surrounding authority. Viewed through this lens, the Haiti formation feels less accidental and more symbolic. The pairing of object and cloud becomes a subtle announcement, a reminder that the heavens have long communicated through signs that appear gentle yet meaningful. Some dismiss the moment as a brief illusion captured from a rare angle, yet the memory of that silent companion lingers. The cloud remained aligned until both shapes faded, leaving calm skies behind. The quiet returned without explanation. A single formation may seem small, yet its weight grows when seen as the opening whisper of something larger. This silent watcher feels like the first hint that the heavens are beginning to speak. 2. 3 metallic craft move in perfect arrowhead formation, deep within the remote Alai Mountains. A lone hiker raised a camera toward a calm sky, unaware that something precise was already unfolding. 3 metallic shapes emerged from thin clouds in a tight formation that immediately suggested direction. The leading object carved forward in a sharp arrowhead shape, while 2 identical crafts followed at equal distance, mirroring its path without hesitation. Their movement felt guided rather than random. Sunlight briefly flashed across their surfaces, then faded as they settled into a steady glide. No sound crossed the mountains, no vapor trails appeared, and the surrounding clouds remained undisturbed. The sky looked open, yet the ordered motion created the impression of a route already chosen. The trio advanced together, adjusting smoothly while maintaining consistent spacing. The lead craft shifted slightly, and the 2 behind echoed the change at the same instant. Observers later described the motion as a procession rather than separate objects sharing airspace. Residents familiar with occasional strange lights noted how coordinated this movement appeared. The mountains below remained silent, amplifying the sense that the alignment carried meaning. Direction suggested intention, and intention suggested purpose. The formation did not wander. It traveled with quiet certainty, then continued forward, reinforcing the idea that the sky itself was presenting a structured sign. Psalm 68-17 reflects imagery that resonates with such order. The chariots of God are 20,000, even thousands of angels. The Lord is among them, in Sinai, in the holy place. These words portray heavenly movement as organized ranks advancing with purpose. The arrowhead formation above the mountains echoes that sense of disciplined motion. The crafts did not compete for space or drift apart. They moved as one unit, calm and deliberate. Such precision invites reflection on whether the heavens still reveal signs arranged with meaning, guiding attention toward authority beyond human design. Some viewers proposed experimental aircraft, yet the flawless spacing challenged that idea. Conventional machines usually show visible correction, yet this trio remained steady, without adjustment. The metallic bodies reflected light in brief unison, reinforcing coordination rather than coincidence. The silence deepened the mystery. Each second strengthened the impression that the formation carried intention. The sky seemed to display a pattern, and the pattern felt deliberate. The absence of sound made the movement more striking, allowing the visual alignment to stand as the central message. Habakkuk 3-8 offers another image. Was the Lord displeased against the rivers? Was thine anger against the rivers? Was thy wrath against the sea, that thou didst ride upon thine horses and thy chariots of salvation? The description of divine chariots moving forward with purpose resonates strongly here. The arrowhead formation appears less like isolated objects and more like a coordinated advance. The ordered motion suggests preparation and direction. The silent glide becomes a reminder that structured signs can appear gently, yet carry weight. Some dismissed the footage as coincidence, yet coincidence rarely maintains such unity. The three shapes continued forward, without scattering, then slipped into the clouds. The mountains returned to stillness, though the impression remained. A formation moving with such intention feels less like a passing anomaly and more like a message quietly delivered. 3. Massive triangle hovering with pulsing blue lights. Late one evening, at a quiet gas station in Florida, several witnesses looked up and froze when a massive triangular object hovered in the dark sky. It remained perfectly still, suspended without sound, while rows of blue lights pulsed beneath it in a steady rhythm. The glow brightened and dimmed in sequence, forming a pattern that felt deliberate rather than random. The air seemed heavy, charged with tension, and those nearby described a stillness similar to the calm before lightning. No engine noise broke the silence, and no visible support held the craft in place. The moment felt unnatural, as though the sky itself had paused to reveal something quietly watching. The triangle did not drift or rotate. It hovered with calm authority, dominating the night while the lights continued their measured pulse. Then, a second, fainter triangle appeared below it, mirroring the same shape. For a brief moment, the two aligned, stacked one above the other, creating a layered image that deepened the unease. The lower form faded slowly, leaving the larger triangle alone again. Witnesses remained silent, uncertain whether they had seen advanced technology or something beyond human design. The glow reflected faintly on nearby surfaces, reinforcing the impression that the display carried intention rather than chance. Ezekiel 1-4-5 offers imagery that resonates with such visions. And I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself, and a brightness was about it. Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of living creatures. This passage presents luminous movement connected with divine presence. The pulsing lights beneath the triangle and the calm, hovering motion echo structured brilliance, inviting reflection that such appearances may serve as warnings rather than curiosities. Speculation spread that the object could be an experimental craft, yet the silence and stillness resisted simple explanation. The lights remained perfectly timed, and the craft showed no sign of adjustment. Hours later, residents reported unmarked black helicopters circling the same area, intensifying the mystery. The original footage disappeared from public view, and no official statement followed. The sudden removal of evidence raised more questions. The night returned to normal, though the memory of the hovering triangle lingered. Those who witnessed it felt the sky had revealed something deliberate. Luke 21:25 provides a direct warning tied to unusual signs above. And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity. The verse speaks of heavenly signs, stirring confusion and concern. The triangular craft, silent and commanding, fits the image of a sign that unsettles observers and calls attention to a greater unfolding. The pulsing lights and layered shapes appear less like coincidence and more like a reminder that warnings can emerge quietly, yet with undeniable presence. Some dismissed the event as an illusion, yet shared unease remained. The triangle hovered, the lights pulsed, the second shape mirrored, and the silence deepened. When it vanished, the night resumed, though the sense of being watched did not fade. 4. Golden fireball zigzags across the night. Over the Kenyan night sky, a brilliant light burst into view and immediately changed direction, zigzagging sharply across the darkness. Witnesses expected a meteor to fall in a smooth arc, yet this glowing fireball moved left, then right, tracing angles that felt guided. The light burned like molten gold, leaving a shimmering trail that lingered behind it. Instead of fading, the brightness held steady while the object continued forward. The path appeared intentional, not chaotic, and the sky seemed to carry the motion like a message written in fire. Phones lifted quickly, and the horizon glowed as the streak carved its unusual course. The fireball glided, shifted again, then pressed onward with calm intensity. Its trail illuminated thin clouds before dissolving, creating the impression of liquid metal suspended in the air. Witnesses described how the angles formed by its path defied the predictable curve of a natural fall. Some compared it to a wandering flame from ancient stories, while others sensed a sacred meaning behind its motion. The atmosphere remained quiet, yet the sky appeared charged with significance. The object neither flickered nor fragmented. It held brightness long enough for observers to recognize the unusual movement, then continued across the horizon with unwavering glow. Matthew 2:9-10 offers a reflection connected to guiding light. When they had heard the king, they departed, and lo, the star, which they saw in the east, went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with great joy. This passage describes a star moving with purpose, guiding observers toward revelation. The Kenyan fireball echoes this imagery. Its shifting path resembles a light traveling deliberately, inviting attention upward and encouraging reflection on meaning beyond ordinary explanation. Some viewers suggested atmospheric distortion, yet the zigzag motion resisted that reasoning. Natural streaks follow smooth trajectories, while this light altered direction with precision. The trail remained bright and the glow steady. Each replay reinforced the impression of guided movement. The sky seemed to host a message formed in brilliance. The object did not dim gradually. It continued until it slipped beyond the horizon, leaving calm darkness behind. The stillness that followed felt heavier, as though the sign had completed its course and departed. Those who witnessed it sensed that the heavens had briefly revealed a purposeful signal. Joel 2:30-31 deepens the interpretation. And I will shew wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The sun shall be turned into darkness and the moon into blood before the great and the terrible day of the Lord come. Friends. The verse speaks of fire appearing in the heavens. The golden fireball crossing Kenya reflects that imagery, a wonder drawing attention upward. The moving light becomes more than a spectacle. It stands as a call to awaken faith and recognize that signs may appear unexpectedly. Some dismissed the fireball as coincidence, yet the deliberate turns remained vivid. The golden trail faded, and the night returned, though the impression lingered. A shifting light can stir belief, and this one invited hearts to look higher. 5. Aurora shapes forming written patterns. On a quiet night over Andoya in northern Norway, the familiar glow of the aurora suddenly shifted into something far more unusual. 4 bright lights shot upward from the horizon, rising with sharp clarity before spreading across the Arctic sky. Instead of dissolving, the glow arranged itself into sweeping lines that looked strikingly deliberate, almost like writing forming in luminous strokes. The aurora transformed from a gentle shimmer into layered arcs that appeared carefully placed. Witnesses stood beneath the display in silence, phones lifted, watching the sky reshape itself. The lights did not scatter. They expanded in controlled motion, holding their form long enough to suggest intention rather than chance. The glowing lines continued to evolve, stretching outward in symmetrical waves that felt designed. The colors intensified briefly, then blended into new shapes that resembled symbols appearing and fading. Observers described the motion as the sky composing and erasing strokes across a vast canvas. The Arctic air remained calm, yet the heavens seemed active, shifting with measured precision. The lights rose, curved, then settled into layered bands before reshaping again. Each transformation reinforced the impression of silent communication. The display drew attention not to randomness, but to structure, leaving many with the sense that the sky itself was delivering a message. Psalm 19:1 speaks directly to such moments. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament sheweth his handiwork. This verse presents the sky as testimony, revealing divine expression through light. The Norway display echoes this declaration. The arranged lines appear less accidental and more intentional. The luminous arcs resemble words formed in brilliance. The sky becomes a voice without sound, and the shifting glow invites reflection on meaning beyond ordinary explanation. Observers felt reverence, recognizing that the heavens may still communicate through ordered light. Authorities later suggested the display resulted from released vapors during a scientific experiment. Yet many who watched felt the explanation did not match what they saw. The movement remained too neat, the symmetry too exact, and the timing too controlled. The lines appeared, shifted, and reformed with calm precision. Random dispersion rarely maintains such structure. The more footage circulated, the more viewers sensed intention rather than coincidence. The silence beneath the aurora deepened the feeling that the display carried significance beyond technical description. Job 37:14-15 invites contemplation. Hearken unto this, O Job, stand still and consider the wondrous works of God. Dost thou know when God disposed of them and caused the light of his cloud to shine? These words draw attention to light arranged within clouds. The Arctic display reflects this imagery. The shining lines appear disposed across the heavens with guidance. The structured glow reinforces the belief that the sky may reveal signals meant to awaken faith. The lights become more than spectacle. They become a reminder to pause and observe. Some viewers dismissed the event as ordinary, yet those present remembered the sense of meaning. The lines rose, formed shapes, then faded, leaving calm darkness. The silence that followed felt heavier, as though a message had been delivered. A sky that writes in light invites attention, and this display seemed to speak without sound. 6. Suspended shadow twisting in still air. Over an open field, beneath a calm sky, witnesses noticed a dark shape hovering in complete silence. At first, it resembled smoke, yet no fire burned below, and no wind carried it away. The black mass remained suspended, curling inward and stretching outward with slow, controlled motion. Instead of thinning like ordinary vapor, it held together, tightening and relaxing while keeping its position. People gathered around the field, phones raised, trying to understand what they were seeing. The air stayed still, the horizon remained clear, and the shadow seemed detached from natural movement. Its presence alone transformed the quiet landscape into something tense and unfamiliar. The form continued to shift within itself, folding into dense knots before extending thin tendrils that slowly retracted. Observers watched closely as the shape maintained its place without drifting even slightly. Grass below barely moved, and no clouds gathered nearby. The contrast between the calm surroundings and the moving darkness heightened the unease. The motion suggested intention rather than weather. Sections compressed, then expanded again, as though responding to an unseen force. Each gradual change reinforced the sense that the sky was hosting something active. The field remained silent beneath it, and the shadow appeared to form a warning written in darkness. Exodus 19:16-18 offers imagery that resonates with such a scene. And it came to pass on the third day in the morning that there was thunder and lightning and a thick cloud upon the mount, and Mount Sinai was altogether on a smoke, because the Lord descended upon it in fire, and the smoke thereof ascended as the smoke of a furnace. This passage describes a thick cloud connected with awe and trembling. The hovering black mass over the field echoes that sense of presence. The darkness appears less like weather and more like a sign demanding attention. The stillness surrounding it deepens the impression of something significant unfolding. Speculation spread quickly, yet explanations failed to remove the tension. Some suggested an atmospheric anomaly, others proposed hidden technology. The shape remained silent and controlled, resisting simple classification. It neither scattered nor faded immediately. The mass twisted slowly, paused, then shifted again. The absence of sound amplified the moment. Witnesses described a heaviness in the air, a quiet pressure that lingered while the form hovered. The sky seemed darker around it, even though the rest remained clear. When the shape finally began to dissolve, it faded gradually, leaving calm emptiness behind. The quiet that followed felt unusually profound. Joel 2:1